Okay, I'm going to use this as a blog for something. If you wish to respond, type your response in the day of the blog with the signature. I recently got my game from friend Frank. It was a copy of Wario Land 3 for the Game Boy Color. I immediately took it, and he seemed more happy to get rid of it. I asked him why, and he just told me, "You'll see." I thought he just meant that it had a glitch. I'm hoping it does. April 17, 2012. I took the game home today. It was usual. Nothing important. The game worked fine, except for something I won't forget. When I started the game, this high-pitched screech blew out the speakers. It repeated 3 times, and then it stopped. It didn't happen again. I'm hoping this is the worst it will get. April 18, 2012. Well, I was wrong. It got way worse. I tried the game again. It started me off at Sea Turtle Rocks, without even giving me the map screen. I went backwards to go get the first key, but it was gone. The only thing there was the barrel. I picked it up and threw it to collect the coins, but instead, this box appeared. I picked it up, and I died. I turned it off. After that, something is really wrong here. April 19, 2012. Okay, there is a huge problem here. The game turned itself on last night. I don't know how. Wario Land turned on, and it took me to the temple. The weird guy said something in Latin. I looked it up and it said, "The game will determine your fate." Someone help me. April 20th, 2012. This game is creepy as hell. I turned the game on today. It didn't even do the Game Boy Advance logo at the beginning. It just went straight to the game. The title screen was disturbing. It showed Wario digging like normal, but the sky was red and the clouds were black. Then Wario stopped digging. He jumped out of the hole and went off screen. When he returned, he was dragging something. When I realized what it was, I almost screamed. It was a dead body. Its eyes were gone, and the sockets were missing. The torso was cut up, and his left leg was missing. The area was where it used to be, was bleeding heavily. The body was leaving a trail of blood, as Wario dragged it towards the hole. He threw the body in and buried it. After that, he looked at me. He just stared. He wouldn't stop staring. Whenever I moved, so did his eyes. The pupils' movements were exact for the 8-bit software for its time. I turned it off and put it away. I'm really scared. April 21st, 2012. Okay, I really am scared. The game turned itself on again last night. It was in my drawer, and I saw the glow. I pulled it out, and it was at the title screen, exactly where I turned it off. He was staring at me, but there was something different about his stare from yesterday. He looked scared like something was bothering him. I started the game by accident. He smiled in a relieved way, and he took me to the Castle of Illusions, or I think that's what it's called. We went in, and I got attacked by the zombie in the beginning. Wario jumped over him. That was strange, since I didn't press anything. Wario was moving himself. He took me to the room with the vampire bats. There was something different. The bats were dead. On the floor, the wings were ripped out and nailed to the wall. The blood was dripping from the floor. I couldn't bear it. Why? Why did you take me here? I asked the screen. Wario broke the fourth wall and answered me. He is hurting them. He told me he thinks it's fun. The pain entertains him. I looked at him, a tear dripping from my eye. I was sad for them. Sad for all of them. Who is doing this? I asked him. He turned to me and said 2 words. The temple. Of course. The temple guy. He's the reason Wario goes through this crazy adventure in the real game. I decided to wait until tomorrow to confront this temple guy. April 22nd, 2012. I turned the game on again. Wario was waiting for me. He looked scared and took me to the temple. We entered, and something surprised me. The temple became a playable level. It looked like a dungeon or a torture chamber. It was terrifying. There were torture machines, blood splattered on them, corpses hung by chains from the ceiling. Guts were all over the floor. There was a staircase. Wario controlled himself and climbed it. It took us to a chair, just a chair. Wario picked it up, and then it happened. The Game Boy started vibrating. I dropped it on my bed. This weird green gas sprung from it. The power went out. Things started moving. A hand reached for the Game Boy. I freaked out and turned the Game Boy off. The smoke disappeared, the hand returned, and the power turned on again. My mom was confused, and I told her nothing. She would think I'm crazy. April 23rd, 2012. This is not good. I can't get rid of that game. My girlfriend suggested I throw it away, so I tried to. I took it outside to our dumpster, came back in, and it was on the table. And it was as if it never left. I turned the game on, and it skipped the title screen. It showed a close-up of Wario, his eyes crying tears of blood. "He has you now," he said. I freaked out. I didn't know what to do, nor do I now, as I type this. I am at school, hoping, planning. Here's his girlfriend. Artista 7 said the following. I would throw this game out if I was you. The game sounds like it's freaking haunted or cursed. Frankly, the fact you go through that is scaring the living fucking hell out of me. April 24th, 2012. I think there's something in my house. I tried to throw the game away again. Same thing happened. It was just there, like it was begging me to play it. I understand Mario's in trouble, but after the whole hand thing, I couldn't play it. But peer pressure got the hold of me, and I put it in my GBASP and turned it on. The screen was red for a few seconds, then an image. I still couldn't get out of my head. It was me sitting in a chair, Wario in a chair next to me. We were gagged and tied down. Then the squid boss from Sea Turtle Rocks came out, his needle ready. He jabbed it into Wario's arm, and he screamed in pain. He injected some weird yellow fluid into him, and pulled the needle out. He jabbed it into my ear. I couldn't bear to watch, but I did. It just went deeper and deeper until the needle got to my brain and killed my sprite. Wario screamed in agony, and his head exploded. Blood filled the screen. It moved in a way that couldn't be possible for the 8-bit graphics of its time. I'm typing this with my Dragon headset software because my hands are shaking too much to type. April 25th, 2012. Something is definitely in my house. I was trying to sleep last night when I heard a bang down from the hallway. I jumped from my bed in a cold sweat. I grabbed my emergency Bowie knife and followed the bang. I opened my door to my bathroom, and my heart stopped. In the Mario was a deformed Wario. His face was mangled and cut up. His mustache was cut into pieces. His eyes were gone, the sockets bleeding. I screamed at the top of my lungs and slammed the door. Another bang from the living room. I followed it. There wasn't anything there, though. I looked out the window, and there he was. Wario standing in my driveway. I screamed again and ran into my room. I hid under the covers and cried for 20 minutes. Something is gonna happen. I don't know what. Wish me luck. I'm gonna destroy that game once and for all. April 26th, 2012. Alright, I think there's a pattern here. I noticed that every time I turn on the game, Wario looks worse and worse. I turned it on, and Wario was a decayed zombie. His head was a half skull. His arms were green, blotchy, and bleeding. He was walking right, no matter how hard I tried to move him left. After he walked for 10 minutes, a text box appeared. It said, "Time's up, turn in your game." And the game flew out of the GBASP into my stomach. I couldn't breathe for about 20 seconds. While I was getting up, the game was changing. The color of the cartridge changed, and the picture on the front changed. It's a picture of me. I was laying on the floor. My eyes were gone. My stomach was gashed open, and I could see my entrails hanging out over the hole. There was a shadow of what Wario appeared to be Wario standing over me. I couldn't take it, and I hit the game. I'm going to try and destroy it today. April 27, 2012. I think it's gone. I hope it's gone. I got attacked. I don't know what it was. I think it was from the game. The game that fucking game tried to kill me. I think it failed. I know it failed. Because if it didn't fail, I wouldn't be typing this right now. I couldn't figure out what it did to get out, nor do I want to know. I think it might not last. April 28th, 2012. I did it! I got rid of that game. It attacked me again. I stabbed it. I debunked the creature as being a firebot. It shot flames at me and almost burned my house down. I jumped on its back, stabbing it repeatedly. I ripped the arms off as oil spilled in all directions. I jumped from it and carried it outside, same way Wario does. I kicked it into the canal and it sank. Just sank. I ran back inside and there were more creatures. The polar bear that shoots ice, the baker and his giant donuts, and that squid. The one that stabbed my sprite in the head. He would die last. He needed to suffer. I attacked the polar bear first. I grabbed its snowflake from its hand and jabbed it into his back. He wailed as what I'm guessing was blue blood poured in all directions. I laughed maniacally, which I don't usually do, as he fell into the floor. The baker threw a donut at me. I grabbed it. It was heavy. I walked to him and tossed it up on top of it. His bones crumbled and blood escaped his body. I grabbed his weird fork staff thing and went for that squid. It is at this moment that I think I lost temporary sanity, because I felt something crack in my head. I went nuts. I screamed and down at him. I cut his tentacles off, jabbed his head until blood and brain matter spewed from the holes in his godforsaken skull. He wailed, and I spun him around. His guts were flapping, and I threw him into the kitchen. I pulled the game out of that GBASP and walked to him. I shoved it in his skull and pulled it out one of my dad's emergency flare kits. I lit it and shoved it into the squid as well. The game and the monsters melted into oblivion. My sanity returned, and I fell to the floor, tired from what just happened.